In the former video, we talk about this article from 2014, New Scientist, and the most important is that it is based on ancient DNA, and it proves an into Africa because consensus has a lot of power. They call it back to Africa, but in fact, there's no proof at all that it is back to Africa. It's inside of Africa, into Africa, and deeper into Africa. It's about the Khoisan. The Khoisan is haplogroup A, which is Adam. Adam is here. Haplogroup A is here, and haplogroup A is here. So the Adam and the Adam haplogroup is not Africa. It's not African. There's no evidence here of out of African or out of Africa, but nevertheless they painted here to, let's say, to Europe 40,000 years ago, to points as far as Pakistan, but it probably means a wider region 60,000 years ago, and that means they left 65,000 years ago. But the only thing that this ancient DNA proved is that Khoisan and Adam came from outside Africa. They appear here 3,000 years ago, and they appear here 1800 to 900 years ago. This is around the Bronze Age collapse, which I think it's related to, and this is around Christianism, which I think it's related to. So anyhow, Bronze Age collapse is, of course, involves the the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, which emerged during these ages, early Bronze Ages, between the 6th and the 5th millennium. So you already see it's a very short period. That's strange. It's cradle of humanity, and it only maintains itself roughly one millennium. Most historians have suggested that Sumer was first permanently settled between 5,500 and 3,300 BC. This is already close to the Bronze Age collapse. So this is just over, it's over 2,000 years, 3,000, 5,000, is over 2 millennia. By a West Asian people. West Asian is not African. And they spoke the Sumerian language, which is an Indo-Indonesian language. But it's strange again that these Sumer, which are the cradle of humanity, are not African. Nevertheless, they are. Here you don't see the faces, but here you see the faces and the color. And so some think they are of African origin. There's quite some interesting things. This is called vultures. I suppose it's vultures or it's predators, birds. And it's interesting because we see vulture and other birds in Göbekli Tepe much earlier. This is also interesting because it's a Sumerian or Sumer prisoner, and the hairstyle of the prisoner's curly hair on top and short hair on the sides is characteristic of Sumerians, but curly hair is also African. I don't see right away. And I would like to point out that in our research, the Sumerians, the elite, are kind of white people that we think they descend from Peru and possibly Ecuador and Colombia, from Andes. And that, let's say, the people, the ordinary people, are have African characteristics. We will come back to this. But anyhow, the Sumer are not African. They have characteristics of Africans, but they are not African. We think that at the time of the Bronze Age collapse, around this period, that possibly these peoples from Sumer, these with people with African traits, and possibly Nile, people from the Nile, the more ordinary people, that they were pushed back by the, let's say, the arriving Bronze Age collapse, by the sea people, so to speak. They are pushed back to here, but they could have come from the Austronesian expansion, which comes from the Americas, at least according to the ancestral markers and according to us. And maybe they are pushed back further, but we think they arrive by other means, by the Atlantic current or the Austronesian current. But anyhow, both currents come from the Americas. But it's possible that they were pushed further back, but this is quite a distance. And the time is shorter. There's only 1,000 years in between. So we leave all the possibilities open. But then again, this article tells us also that Adam, and the Adam haplogroups are not African. And we also already found out that the Sumer are not African, but have African characteristics. Of course, the Khoisan, the Khoi and the San, they have African characteristics, but they are not from Africa. So this derails out of Africa. At the basis, not somewhere halfway, but at the basis. I check here, and and that's for later. But this is Olmec, also African traits. So the African traits were present in the Americas. This is Surui tribe in the Amazon, and well, we will come back later why we talk about the Surui, but they are the origin of the Olmecs, and they are the origin of Khoisan. And I'm not saying you can see that, but you see a little bit the traits of the Khoisan Bushman. And you see also Asian traits, because the Asians come from the Amazon Amarants as well. This according to the ancestral markers, which we should listen to. And consensus doesn't listen to them at all. And even science doesn't listen to the ancestral markers, because consensus doesn't really allow them to listen to the ancestral markers, to listen to the science.